Welcome to you all in Bangalore chapters PDM on identity theft and impersonation, current trend, impact, and available remedies. Today we have Mr. P. Sharad Kumar. Mr. Sharad Kumar is one of the topmost forensic investigator of our country, and he is our colleague in our IIA. He is a chartered accountant. He is a certified fraud examiner, and having more than 38 years of experience in this field. Mr. Sharad Kumar helped CBI, ED, and many state governments, police department in their investigations, and there are many leading investigations which are successfully done by Mr. Sharad Kumar, and he's the only chartered accountant got Interpol recognition, and he got the lapel pin from the chief of Interpol. And in his previous assignment in that government of Telangana, he was in the rank equivalent to that additional director general of police, and he is a well respected in this field, and I am sure we don't have any other person better than him to talk on this, because while an auditor, it is our responsibility to safeguard our client. Now with this subject, we want our safeguard. We don't know somebody will hack my bank account. So we were very much interested to learn from you, sir, what we will do so that our money is saved, our hard-earned money is saved, as well as at the same time we can save the client. So, sir, over to you, sir, and lot of thanks to you for accepting our request with your extremely tight and busy schedule, and in a very short span of time. And Bangalore chapter and BOG and all its members are deeply indebted to you. And one small announcement. If there is any question, kindly type in those question box. If we don't have time, what we'll do, we'll get this question answered and we'll try to mail you separately, because the session time is 1, and after that we have got one more meeting. And thank you very much. And over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kundu, for your warm introduction, and thank IIA Bangalore for inviting me for this session. I'll try to be as fast as possible, though it is a vast subject. First of all, before starting the PPT per se, I suggest to all my colleagues, how many of you are having internet banking? All of you, almost all of us are having internet banking. I suggest one strong measure of precaution, because you are not competent and your banks are not competent enough to protect your money. I suggest you have a regular account which is not connected to net banking, and have a net banking account wherein you don't maintain more than 25-50,000 balance. Even if the vulnerability is on account of your lapse or your bank's lapse, the loss will be restricted to 50,000. I know of cases where 1 crore up to 50 lakhs to 1 crore SB account is swept away in no time by the silly mistakes of the owners. With this, I'll go to the session per se. Identity theft and impersonation. I'll be covering most matured white-collar crime in India today, and identity theft occurs when someone else uses your personally identifying information without your knowledge or permission to obtain credit cards, products, etc., or commit various types of fraudulent or criminal acts. You may ask me what acts he can commit. A lot of money laundering is going on nowadays by using your money, by showing that you have invested 25,000 below 50,000 threshold in many companies, which has come to notice now. These identities are used to avail bank loans, mortgages, and alienations. We'll discuss cases. Also used to open bank accounts in the name of stolen identities to park and deploy illegal money. That's what is happening. Now there is a case under investigation in Hyderabad police now, where online lending apps were closed. A lot of identity theft occurred, and people's bank accounts were used to collect the money and transfer it abroad. These people are being examined, and we are realizing today that they are innocent victims of identity theft. Okay, widely used to facilitate other crimes like illegal immigration, etc. As per NCRB, National Crime Records Bureau, cyber crimes involving identity theft account for more than 65% of the reported cases. Cyber crimes, 65% of the cyber crimes are involving 65%. Imagine the magnitude of the identity theft. Second largest crime in America, We are evolving very fast, but unfortunately, all of us are not giving due importance to that. When it comes to impersonation, in the context of digital crime, impersonation precedes identity theft. I to impersonate to get the data. Scheme involves imposter requesting a fraudulent payment. Perpetrator usually pretends to have authority to request the payment. Scam begins as a phone call, email, fax, text, other information. Usually takes the form of bank impersonation, CEO or executive impersonation. The latest trend is lot of companies in India lost money by the trick of impersonation. How? Simple. They receive a email from their vendor that our bank account has been changed from X bank to Y bank. You remit the proceeds to the new bank. So these people have remitted money unwittingly without realizing that that is a mail of impersonation, not from the real vendor, but some other person impersonating as the vendor. It is happening very rampantly. I'm on a board of one company where they remitted 3 crores like that. And by afternoon, when they mentioned to me, I sensed it is an impersonation case. We could stop 2 crore 70 lakhs, but 30 lakhs is lost, went out of country, which could never be recovered. What is the difference between identity theft and impersonation is crimes in which someone wrongfully obtains and uses another person's personal data in some way or other involves fraud, whereas impersonation to attempt to deceive someone by pretending that you are another person. Mr. Kundu, are you aware there is an impersonation going on claiming to be IIA India and collecting monies?
No, sir, I am
Are
not
you aware,
aware,
sir?
but okay. No.
No,
Okay.
it is happening. Mr. Nikhil is in touch with me. We are shortly going to lodge a complaint with Mumbai police about this. They created an address resembling us, claiming that they are representatives and they are asking for the sponsorships and monies payments. IIA itself is impersonated now. Nobody is immune, sir. We will be filing complaint tomorrow or day after in Mumbai police. Okay. So why I suddenly mentioned they requested the help, that's why I know it. So wrongfully obtaining and using another person's personal data, name, date of birth, etc., to use it, okay. And falsely representing one's position and acting character to our position, thus unlawfully assumed to deceive others, thereby gain a profit or advantage, enjoy some right or privilege, subject another person to entity to an expense charge, etc. That is, crudely put, impersonation is pretending successfully to be somebody else and managing to hoodwink the person in parting with his money. That is impersonation. Identity theft is I'll steal your identity, then somebody believes that is you are dealing with me and may do that. But mostly impersonation precedes identity theft. The demarcation is very, very thin. Identity theft normally is preceded by impersonation. Sometimes impersonation itself will succeed, but identity theft will not succeed without impersonation. I hope I am clear, sir. How it is done? Stealing emails, impersonation, identity theft, retrieving information from computers, researching information about person from government data and using it, retrieving information from social networking sites. In social networking arena, you join Facebook, it is a treasure trove of information. You join LinkedIn, treasure trove of information. All social working sites are treasure troves of information, fertile ground for impersonation and identity theft. Stealing personal payment identity cards, stealing information, advertising bogus jobs, stealing. We will discuss each cases separately. Misuse of Aadhaar numbers when shared with several outside establishments. Identity theft statistics. More than 50% of business surveyed in Asia Pacific has seen an increase in fraud losses for last 12 months COVID period. They were particularly prominent in India at a reported 65% of the cybercrime cases in India. 87% of the businesses expressed heightened concern about potentially damaging impact. Security is their number one priority during their online experience, followed by convenience and personalization. So when you are dealing online, either for pleasure or business or purchases or sales, be concerned first about security, not about the convenience. There is a cardinal rule in fraud investigation, sir. The more comfort, the more convenient it is, the less security is. Heightened security calls for lesser comfort and convenience. More inconvenience, you will be more safe. Less inconvenience, you will be less safe. This should be remembered by my colleagues. Whereas identity theft contributes to more than 35% of the overall frauds, of course. How identity theft occurs? Financial identity theft. Perpetrator uses the financial identity of the victim to commit a fraud or cheating related to bank accounts, availing bank loans, credit cards, etc. How do I do? I have Mr. Amal Kundu's Xerox copy of his income tax return. I have a Xerox copy of Mr. Amal Kundu's income tax return. What can I do with that? Can I do anything with that, sir? Anybody can reply. Can I do anything with Mr. Sir, tell me, sir.
Yeah, with that you can try to open a bank account like that.
Very easily. I know his PAN number. I know his name, father's number. With 150 rupees to 200 rupees, you will get a bogus PAN card with my photograph and with Amal Kundu's name, all genuine details. With that PAN card, I know his bank account details in the income tax return. I know his acknowledgement. I'll open a bank account claiming to be Amal Kundu and operate it for 6 months. After 6 months of operation, all private sector banks will issue credit cards to me with a limit of 25,000 or 50,000. I can take 1 lakh of personal loan. I can do anything with that one income tax return Xerox copy. We are so casual with Xerox copies, I'll cover later. Don't share the Xerox copies with anybody and don't throw them away without tearing them to pieces. Criminal identity theft. Perpetrator illegally uses the stolen identity with unvictim victims to commit any crime, of course. Cloning and concealment. Perpetrators can use the information they obtain to hide the identity. They can request and use identification instruments to mislead investigation or use the victim's bank account to launder money, which is happening. Business commercial identity theft. Perpetrators illegally avails business identity which manipulates availing loans. Most successful identity theft that is occurring, I'll cover in the next slide. They use the fake information along with stolen identity to create a new identity which is used for illegal activity. I'll cover next. Medical identity theft. Do you know, during pandemic time, many people didn't realize people availed medical insurance facility to get their treatment done by impersonating themselves as somebody else, got them admitted in hospital, treated and went away. The claim is large. Insurance company paid the money also. The person who is holding the original health insurance policy is not even aware this thing happened. Rampantly happened, sir. So many cases we are investigating in Hyderabad now. Please bear with me. This synthetic identity theft is very, very important. Significant examples of this is a crime of new millennium. There is a theory in fraud investigation called half-truth theory. If I lie to Mr. Amal Kundu, being a seasoned interlocutor, he'll catch me in no time. But if I tell him half-truth and half-lie, he tends to believe the half-lie to be the true because the first part of the half is truth. Synthetic identity theft uses the theory. Instead of using a stolen credit card and identity, fraudsters use fabricated IDs to draw credit. What do? I impersonate as Mr. Amal Kundu. I will not take away loan and run away. I will open account in 5 banks, private sector banks, by using the name of Amal Kundu. So that salary is coming into that credit every month and draw the money out of that 1 lakh salary. By showing 1 lakh salary, I will apply for a personal loan of 5 lakhs. I will take a credit card of 1 lakh, 2 lakh credit limit, and I will obtain various other loans in all 6 banks simultaneously, unknown to each other, and run away. The total amount will be done with one identity, synthetic identity theft will be in the region of 1 crore, that is the average. And who are the people perpetrating, sir? Youngsters. Average age is 26 to 30, 25 to 30. they use mules who are unwitting victims of supplying the photograph and coming to the bank along with this fellow. So criminals obtain personal information from customer data. This information is then used to open various bank accounts and to get credit cards. Cyber criminals operate these accounts for some time and build up good credit record of the synthetic IDs. Mostly they target people who have very less or no credit history. So the banks have no pre-existing credit records on them. Hence their applications have little chance to be flagged. Synthetic identity theft is so sophisticated that the strike rate is 65%, sir. 65% success rate. Synthetic identity mostly depends on half-truth theory of fraud and very lethal. So, how to identify the synthetic identity fraud if it is perpetrated? Take CIBIL record of yourself every year and keep it on record with you so that you will know what is if the CIBIL record is going adverse, that means somewhere there is a negativity, most probably. Now, what I strongly suggest you be aware of the synthetic identity theft. I invite any questions here, sir. The reason is it is very important, rampantly happening in India, and many are not aware, sir. Now, impersonation fraud, bank impersonation, vendor impersonation, CEO impersonation is happening. Vendor impersonation is very, very regular. You caution all your clients where you are doing internal audit. The fraudster posing as a vendor sends an email to inform the company that the vendor has a new bank account where future payments should be sent and sends a link. There is an address change so that the check payments will be rerouted to the later deposited. Never type on the link that you give. You make an internal audit protocol in all the companies where you are working that whenever any vendor requests for change of bank account for remitting the proceeds from your company, the protocol should be you contact the vendor directly, bypassing that email, take confirmation from 2 people at least in the vendor's company. Have you sent an email to this? Have you changed the bank account? If so, you confirm by a separate email to us, then only you remit the money. I hope the protocol I mentioned is clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this should be followed as a part of internal audit in all companies. Many companies are losing money. As I told you, I'm independent director in a pharma company. They paid 3 crores, but luckily they informed me by afternoon we could retrieve 2 crores 70 lakhs, 30 lakhs is lost. Had it been a day delayed, entire 3 crores would have been transferred out of the country. So change the internal audit protocols, seeing the identity theft and impersonation I am covering today. Customer impersonation. Fraudsters can also take over or spoof the email account of company's customer. Okay, how? So what do? So they send to your customer showing that your company bank account is changed and the remittance should be sent to Palana account and do these things. So you also instruct the customers as a part of audit protocol not to oblige such mails without independently confirming with the company, our company, that there is indeed a change in the bank account. After the written confirmation only they should pay. I hope I am clear, sir. Bank impersonation. What? Tell me, sir. Tell me.
Sir, just to explain that point, previous point.
Yeah. Previous point is like somebody is impersonating as your vendor and asking you to remit money to other company, other account. Somebody can go through your email ID and hack them. It happened to the BOG chairman of Mr. Menon, Hyderabad BOG, IIA Hyderabad chairman, Menon. And they sent mails in the name of Mr. Menon from his direct email ID that such and such account should be credited with money because of there is an exigency. I take over your company mail ID. I will send mails to the customers of my your company and asking them to pay to a separate account, not to your company. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, how do bank impersonation fraud occurs? Fraudster usually calls victim, though he email or other contact method. They already know information about the victim, including the name to which they bank with. While impersonating the bank staff member, the fraudster might tell the victim their account is under threat and they need to make payments to a safe account. Threatening. Jamtara fraudsters use very, very convincing language. If they don't convince you, they threaten you. They plead with you. Any banker calling you and speaking to you for more than 1 minute and asking details is a fraud. Banker never calls you, sir. The fraudster might ask for details so that they can access the account and make payments to the fraudulent account themselves. I'll send you certain conversations which I have with me in the cybercrime we recorded for interesting people who want to listen to them, how the fraudsters operate. The fraudster might ask the victim to download screen sharing software so that they can view or control the victim's computer. Very easy actually. This can make it easier to take control of the account. What you are typing on your screen sharing software unwittingly, your screen can be seen by the fraudster, sir. Yes. Directly. He knows what you are typing, where you are sending. It is over. Your computer is compromised. In any scenario, the fraudster will foster a feeling of panic in order to get the victim to comply with their request as quickly as possible. Threat, hurry. Okay, this is a normal. Job record impersonation, very important. This repeatedly happened in many companies. The latest case is Infotech Bangalore. Since IIA Bangalore, I'm sharing with you. Somebody may be there from Infotech in this forum also. Exploit the brand appeal. Phishing at a reputed job portals. Fake websites are created. They would post jobs on websites. Lookalike website, fake consultants, etc. How it is done? What happened? The aspirant got a call from a job consultant who promised interview with the reputed IT company in Bangalore. I told the name, I don't want to mention here. Consultant asked the aspirants to submit original documents. They were asked to come to company office. They called them to company office, where consultant meets them as a representative in person. He conducts interviews in the lobby of the company or cafeteria. Consultant charges safety fees and gives job offer letter. When aspirant reaches the company on the joining date, they are informed that the offer was fake. How it happened? The racketeers managed to get entry into campus by misusing vendor entry pass. They have a vendor entry pass as a small vendor. Okay, sir. With the vendor entry pass, they have access to the lobby and the cafeteria. They conduct all the interviews in the lobbies and cafeterias with these aspirants. Ran a smooth operation, even interviewed candidates inside the office cafeteria, had everything in place, fake company letterheads, fake sitting place on the campus of the company, went unnoticed that a job aspirant found something amiss and got suspicious. This went on for a long time. You won't believe, about 110 people were cheated. Many preferred not to complain. 10 people came for complaint. Ultimately, only one person was arrested, I think. So what is the moral of the story for the internal auditors? Kundu sir? Any idea?
Sir, if somebody, I don't know, as an internal auditor, how am I going to stop? If somebody getting it inside our company with somebody's fake ID and sitting in the cafeteria.
No. He is not entering with fake ID. He is entering with a genuine ID, misusing that ID. He has taken, somebody entered as a vendor to you. So there should be restriction of vendors in certain places. There should be that, and most of these interviews occurred out of the normal cafeteria timings. You educate the cafeteria staff and the reception staff. Anybody appears to be interacting with anybody for 45 minutes or more in out of times and all, that is a red flag. Let them check up. That is one way of this thing. Of course, the famous PM CARES fund, Honorable Prime Minister of India initiated a fund. The payment could be made by UPI transaction. However, within a day or two, a startling number of fake UPI websites revealed. These fake UPI IDs are also being circulated on social medias. Cyber criminals are trying to scam good Samaritans. And one such fake UPI ID I am giving here, fake ID was PM Care at SBI, which was deceptively similar to the correct PM ID is PM Cares at SBI. Yes. This fellow created one fake ID called PM Care at SBI. Do you know how much money he collected, sir? Any idea?
No.
approximately he collected about 3 to 4 crores.
4 crore.
Within a period of only 15 days before he was shut down. Simple. PM Care at SBI is so similar to PM Cares at SBI. This only, it is what we call in fraud investigation is optical illusion. You are so enamored by PM's call, you are no PM, you know SBI, you don't see the difference between PM Cares and PM Care.
Yeah, actually nobody checks also.
Yes, State Bank of India has acted promptly and blocked the fake ID. However, by the time damage has already been done, 4 crores is misappropriated. Gone. So, do you know how many IDs like this were created, sir? Approximately, any idea?
No, sir.
About 1800 IDs were created in no time. 1800 IDs. 1800. And out of 1800, 4 to 500 are highly successful. SBI one is successful with 4 crores. Others are in the region of 50 lakhs to 1 crore. Total money is not less than about 45-50 crores. Simple.
50 crore.
Yeah, 50 crore is gone. So what helps these tricksters? Perpetrators use a number of techniques to screen their true identity. The bank account details are shared to the victims as shown as in the name of the company. But in fact, the bank accounts are in the names of impersonators and their allies. Once the amount is transferred, they're siphoned off to various other accounts in a mule system. They are usually not from the same city. The multi-jurisdiction nature of the fraud makes it very, very difficult to investigate. The amounts being extorted are small, whereby people don't go for, suppose Kundu Saab loses 10-20,000, he doesn't bother, Arey yaar, kya sardardi, where can I go complain and follow it up? He'll leave it. Am I right, sir? Generally.
No, 10-20,000 is a big money.
No. Still, you don't bother much. You don't want to waste time.
Yeah,
Not that is the small money. Because we calculate the time cost and the headache. Because of the multi-jurisdiction nature, the complaint by victims are filed with individual police stations and are seen as cases of individual and not bothered about. Stage-wise fraud, how it is perpetrated, ID, why this is useful for auditors, particularly spotting the target, the bait is given, trapping the target, minuscule amount is taken initially, later milking the cash cow. After receiving the application fee, they go on increasing. Your job process is done. You are appointed. After appointment, do you know how the major money is collected in Infosys scam, sir?
No,
the amount of money is collected after giving the job offer by telling them you have to make 3 months your salary as a deposit, as a caution deposit with the company. Then only we will be given orders for joining reporting charge. People promptly deposited 3 months salary into the account given by the imposter, and then they got the final joining order. The time gap in between enabled this imposter to cheat about 120 people totally. So when the imposters have extracted the desired amount, then they are ready to vanish. They cut all contacts with the victim. Now it goes on. This is very, very interesting game. Very interesting game. And they are very, very intelligent. You must remember. Otherwise, they don't succeed. Latest case study in public domain is he is a lift mechanic from Hyderabad. It is reported widely in all papers. Received a mail from income tax that sales worth 4.5 crores were made from an entity which was in his name as a proprietor. Shocked, he approached them and came to know that the entity was registered at Hyderabad in his name, and the entity was also registered with GST. The victim took initiative and probed further before lodging the complaint. Though he is a mechanic, he has done a good job. It revealed that his PAN card was used for this purpose. Okay, and there was one electricity bill in his name which was belonging to somebody else. Then he complained to Hyderabad Cybercrime. The victim, in search of a business opportunities, gave his details with PAN number to an entity in Vizag. One employee of that entity stole those details. Then they created a bogus PAN card with their photograph. Having both PAN card, they fabricated electricity bill and took a GST registration. Then this new entity started turnovers of 4.5 crores, but showing sales resulting in GST of 76 lakhs. The 76 lakh GST is collected, but unpaid to GST department and eaten away. Simple. This fellow is a lift mechanic. They wanted to arrest. So he is a victim of impersonation and identity theft both. It is just an example. You all must be reading in Nizdi Razdan case. You are aware, sir? Are you reading?
Yeah, I have seen, but better you please explain it.
Yeah. It is very simple. Miss Nizdi Razdan got an appointment as a assistant professor in Harvard. Okay. She is a former executive editor of NDTV. She attended one event hosted by Harvard Kennedy School. One of the organizers contacted her stating that there is an opening as assistant professor to teach journalism, claiming to be organizer. He is not the organizer per se. They interviewed her online, posing legitimate, thorough professional questions. She did basic Google search and found that there is a journalism degree in that university. Then she received an offer letter and agreement having an authentic university in Sigma. They also managed to get her to share personal information of work visa. Showing pandemic as a reason, they postponed her classes. As she did not get salary disbursement, irrespective of class schedule, she thought something was not high and wrote to university. Then the whole thing tumbled out. What she didn't mention, but mentioned in the police complaint she lodged is, she paid certain monies also, which she did not declare in the open forum. So she thought she's appointed and enjoyed that, basking in the glory of appointed as a Harvard associate or assistant professor. This is a case of somebody impersonating as a Harvard University. The letterheads are so authentic. I sent it to my son-in-law, who is an Harvard MBA. He said, no, Maya, these are Harvard letterheads only. They can be printed anywhere. Authenticity, impersonation with authenticity will get the result. That's what is the point I'm trying to tell. So nominee fraud is occurring, sir. This is another spoofed information. This is online coming, sir. All be aware, educate your friends also. This sort of request is coming from ministry, allegedly from Ministry of Home Affairs, with this thing. Online bank, dear ex-customer, you recently added a nominee to your account named X. They'll take your account details from the income tax return copy or someplace. You'll be able to send funds to this nominee after 30 minutes, time so and so. If you did not make the change, please log in to your online banking and follow the screen instructions. Login, he is giving a login, login monogram here. The moment you log in, you go to the fraudster site, which exactly looks like the bank site, and you type all your email ID with the password and all that. In 15 minutes, your account is totally stolen. I hope you got it, sir. Yeah, he is not asking you for details. He has your account details. He is sending a mail to you with the genuine account details of yours, with the bank name also, which you leaked it to unintentionally somehow. And with that, he will give a login ID where you are typing into the login ID, you are gone. So what do? When they ask you to log in, you don't go log in from the website provided by them. You go independently, open your bank website and log in. That's what is important.
Okay.
This is one of the earliest cases I investigated for CBI. The ladies, anybody attending in this session, one lady is at least there, can take pride that ladies are not lagging behind in the frauds. Okay. Mrs. This is a 9-year-old case where bankers are convicted. She is convicted. A 10-year-old case, 12-year-old case. I stand corrected. Conviction came 8 years back. Mrs. Rupan Ben Panchal, she is from Gujarat. Single-handedly, by engaging services of 3 employees, she opened 8,000 accounts and started applying for public issue shares. When public issue shares, are allotted, she was selling them and making money. This is before the demat regime. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And how did she obtain the photographs those days? She went to a photo studio and asked them to advertise 10 rupees, 10 copies of passport photos. Normally, passport photos were costing 50 rupees at the time. Everybody went for passport photos. She paid 50 rupees to the photo studio fellow. She took 10 copies and opened the photos for opening accounts in the bank by forging their signatures and applied for the shares and got them. 8,000 accounts were opened. The amount of money she earned by applying in these accounts, impersonated accounts, is in the region of 8 to 9 crores. 8 bankers were convicted for facilitating her illegal activity. This is one of the earliest cases of identity theft and money laundering. Multiple fictitious Benami accounts are opened. I just thought I'll tell you the old case. Okay, IPO scam. I'm not going into the details. Warning signs. What are the warning signs in case of impersonation? Mostly undetected until the incident happens and government start verification. Further, most of them dismiss the possible indicators to or mistakes as mistakes or mix-ups. What are the indicators, sir? Unexpected verification call from a bank or a service provided. You didn't apply for anything. Somebody is trying to verify. Immediately be alerted. Don't say that it is a customer call or something. A warning or notice from a bank or service provider. Unexplained entries in the credit report. Debits of small amounts in bank statements. Sir, tell me frankly, how many of you are having bank accounts, sir? Obvious question, all of you. How many of you verify your bank account on a regular basis, debits and credits? You know the approximate balance, 2 to 3 lakhs. How many of you verify your individual bank account on a regular basis, credits and debits?
Yeah, I verify normally.
Normally, very good. Many people are not verifying. Even if they are verifying, they are not verifying the small amounts. There are a lot of debits and credits coming, 700, 800, 300 and all that. Now there is a money laundering scheme happening with the connivance of private sector banks. I don't want to name the bank at this juncture. Your account to launder money. How do they launder money? A credit of 20,000 rupees will come into your account, sir, first.
Yes.
Immediately next 15 minutes, the debit also will go. Maybe 50% of the people are not noticing this debit and credit because the balance is not impacted. Some of them, when they are checking up, the banker is replying that, sorry, sir, there is a wrong credit entry into your account, it is corrected.
Yes.
The reply of the banker is, sir, there is a wrong credit entry and it is corrected. How many of you are familiar with banking rules?
No, sir. But we don't have idea. Just tell.
Yeah, the banking rule categorically says that even if there is a wrong entry into your account, it should be corrected only with the knowledge to you of informing you only. They have no power to correct the wrong just without telling you. What is happening when they tell you, they say wrong entry, the fact is the money is coming from X source, the money is going to Y source as an investment in your name. You are called money laundering mule. Nobody will bother about 20,000 investment. This is happening regularly. Unfamiliar purchases in credit card statement, receiving a statement or bill for one does not avail. I request all of you to keep perusing your bank statements and CC statements very detailed. What are the common methods and schemes used? Lodging false claims for refund and rebates, income tax, GST refund, etc. Last year also a large racket is busted. They have broken into identities, emails of the clients. They updated wrong bank account details for refunds in the income tax website and got refunds from income tax department, taken the money and went away. The people are thinking and still waiting for the income tax refund. This has thrown open accidentally when same account was used in 10 names. The red flag was thrown up in the income tax department. They identified the fraud. Set up businesses to commit income tax, GST fraud, creation of shell companies for putting money into circulation, deposit of large sums of money that are subsequently transferred to other accounts, use of identities of foreign nationals or immigrants by relatives, nomination of a bank account not in the name of claimant, etc., etc. This is only indication and examples, sir. Precautions. My question, sir, is it safe to give Xerox copies of IT returns or property documents? Do you know what is the latest fraud I envisioned, sir? How many of you have let out your house or flat on rent? Is my question clear?
Yes,
How
sir.
many of you let out your flat or house on rent?
Yes, I have done.
You have done it. Suppose I am
Yes.
your tenant. Do you know I can mortgage your flat?
How?
Huh? How? I'll tell you. Very simple, sir. It happened. 3 cases under investigation in Hyderabad itself. It started with Delhi. I'll come to you as a tenant. I'll say that, sir, my company lawyers need a Xerox copy of your purchase ownership to enter into lease agreement with you. Unwittingly, you will give the Xerox copy of your purchase documents. Okay?
Okay.
After that, the Telgi poor man who died, his stamps are still available in the market. With your armed with your documents, I will go to Charminar in Hyderabad. There are places in every city. There, they'll prepare a exactly replica of the original stamped documents with your name, but instead of your photo as a purchaser, your photo as a Amal Kundu as a purchaser, they'll replace my photo, which is matching your age approximately, and I'll stay in that house. So with the armed with the original documents, I'll go to the bank. I'll take a EC in the name of Amal Kundu. I'll approach the bank, sir, I want a mortgage loan of 25 lakhs. The bank, who will be in the house? You will be in the house or I'll be in the house?
Yeah, actually, like, you will be there in the house.
Yeah, naturally. My photograph is there in the documents. I'm in the house.
Yeah.
I'll give my PAN card to the bank. I'll give my documents, original documents to the bank. They create a mortgage. They'll give me 25 lakhs. I'll go away. Simple, very simple, successful. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the
Never.
story is we should treat our Xeroxes with respect. There is, I always popularly joke, sir. The Xeroxes will give you only to 2 people. Only one who asks for them, 2 who don't ask for them. It will cover everybody. Okay.
Yes.
Your trash is their treasure. This is happening rampantly. Even if give your municipal tax receipt, give your name, don't share the copies, Xerox copies of your documents to anybody. I can create an original document, mortgage your house or sell your house also. Luckily, intelligently, these buggers have done only mortgage here. They have taken about 25 lakhs loan here. Okay, sir.
But sir, right now we are giving the soft copy, na? So the soft copy is also equally much more dangerous.
Why should you give soft copy? Why should you prove your ownership? You give the latest current bill, electric bill,
Yeah.
and the municipal tax receipt to show that you are the owner. Bus.
Yeah, that's all.
You are the owner. Declare the owner. You are not. Sir, you don't need to give the details of the day purchase.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you may be careful. Make sure that others who are handling your affairs are also keeping them carefully.
Yes, sir.
While renting out or leasing, there are 2-3 cases we are doing. What are the preventive steps? The preventive steps to stop impersonation or example is ICAI, rampant misuse of chartered accountant certificates. I'll share my own personal issue. I think I given some lecture in one nationalized bank sometime back on the vigilance measures, anti-fraud measures, etc., etc. One, this bank manager calls me, sir, in a derogatory manner. How are you? Fine, sir. Who is this? I attended your lecture sometime back, 5 years back. You gave a lot of bhashan baji. I have a balance sheet of signed by you before me. Okay. Oh, sir, tell me, sir, what is the problem? No. You are so casual. The asset side and liability side is not even totally is not matching. I told him, sir, tell me the company name. If I am doing any fraud in the balance sheet, I'll take the minimum precaution of matching the assets and liability side matching total, at least. I don't do a foolish thing of not matching the total, I said, laughingly. I said, you tell me the company name. You mentioned to the company name to me. I resigned that company as auditor 6 years back. because of some issues with the promoter. The promoter thought, why should he appoint another auditor and fight with him? He simply printed my letterheads, made my stamp made. He started signing my. Unfortunately for him, he was having a senior accountant who left him. On the 6th year, this man prepared the balance sheet himself without bothering to match the total of liabilities and assets and submitted to the bank. The fraud is out. Immediately, my bank manager is disappointed that it is not me who signed that balance sheet. He thought he'll take me for this thing. So I became a complainant in the police. Later, he was arrested. Subsequently, he was arrested for impersonation. There is a case of impersonation. To stop that, ICAI has started UDIN. So there are a lot of audit reports, particularly sensitive audit reports, were impersonated and given also. A lot of cases occurred. UDIN is stopping that practice now. That's why I'm throwing light here elaborately. So where to move ahead is periodically check the accuracy of personal documents stored in computers or phones. Don't store your personal documents on the computer, sir, to the extent possible. Store in a pen drive and keep it separately. Okay. Portable storage devices should be carefully regulated. Regulation of employee and number of employees who have access to data also needs monitoring. Creation of awareness programs in schools, workplaces, etc. And I am suggesting a national database of lost identity details should also be developed, which is not happening. Individually to internal auditors, I'll give some suggestions now. After that, I'll answer questions. Cyber safety measures in 2021 and beyond. A virtual private network is certainly more reliable. It provides a more secure link between employees and businesses by encrypting data. And how many of you, my friends here, are using public Wi-Fi system in airports and other places whenever there is a possibility? Is my question clear?
Yes.
How many of you are using?
See, people are using, but those are money included, friend. They will not do all the banking transaction in that. That I'm sure.
No, you need not do. I can enter Trojans into your computer or laptop or phone. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Thousands of Trojans are entering in the open Wi-Fi networks. Yes, अब छोड़ दीजिए sir. Mr. Amal Kundu invites me to his house for a cup of tea. Okay, nowadays it's a courtesy. After the tea, you also offer me, you want a Wi-Fi password. Am I right or wrong? Generally.
Yes.
What can I do if you share your Wi-Fi password of your residence with me? Is my question clear to all the colleague professionals here? What can I do? Do you know what can I do at least? Yeah, I'll check my mail. With the Wi-Fi password of your house given to me, I can check my mail. I can locate how many instruments are connected throughout your house to the Wi-Fi internet. I can enter all those iPads, computers, including your TV also, and monitor them by simply sitting outside your house.
No, but Wi-Fi, it has got a range, you know, sir. Or I can.
No, that's why I had to sit just outside your house. That's all. How many of you, tell me one word, how many of you are having smart TVs after seeing the TV in the night or switching off the TV? I'm asking you the question. How many of you are switching off the TV? What is switching off? Getting up from the bloody bed, going to the power board and switching off. That is called switching off. You are all doing with switching off with the remote.
Yeah, we switch off with the remote only.
Yeah, still I can listen your conversation by your smart TV, provided I have the Wi-Fi password of your house. That's enough for me. I can listen to the conversation of your bedroom. So there are many dangers which are lurking there. I would love to give more details to you, but I'm open for questions now. Kindly switch off the TV at the switchboard, not with the remote. Smart TV, provided you have a smart TV. All of us have smart TVs today. And you need not share, keep changing your Wi-Fi password every week in your house logging system. And in the companies, we advise the companies that the company regular Wi-Fi network password should not be shared with a guest. A separate system should be provided, a separate Wi-Fi connection should be provided for the guests, if any, in your company, wherever you are working. I hope I am clear, sir.
Yes.
I am open for questions, sir, now.
Okay, all participants, there is a question box there. Kindly type down those questions so that I will be, and then on your behalf, I will ask this question.
Yeah. I hope, though I went faster, I hope I succeeded in giving a overview to you on identity theft,
Yeah,
impersonation, and
sir,
how to be careful.
Sir, I have a question. Suppose if my account is actually hacked or something, somebody has opened account in my name and do something. But since I am a quite, then what is my liability?
Your liability will be limited to the extent of when questioned by the criminal investigation agency, you have to prove that it is not you who opened and operated the account. You are bound to reply. You are bound to attend and reply. After that, if you can prove, you are free. If you don't prove, you are not free.
Okay, so that is basically our thing is that. Okay, suppose
yes, sir.
I have not done anything, but because of my negligence, they have got the data. So do I have any risk?
Negligence? Yeah. It is happening, sir. Negligence is happening rampantly. You have to prove that again, same principle, it is negligence and you did not use it, misuse it, you are not a beneficiary. There is something, there are three facets of a criminal act. One, the intent. Two, the action. And three, the benefit. So your intent and benefit are not there. Your inaction is there. You got the point, I hope?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Three
I have
things.
one more question.
Please tell me, sir.
Oh, sorry, sir. You just continue, sir.
No.
Sir,
three things I told you: intent, action, and the benefit.
Okay, intent, action, and benefit. These three things are very important. But sir, how will know that whether my whether anybody has opened an account in my name? Because see, normally
many unless the criminal act is done and you are questioned, if there is a default there, you may be lucky to see yourself in the CIBIL score coming down. Otherwise, you have no inclination. You don't know also. Very difficult to know. Very difficult to know, sir.
Mr. Sharad Kumar, CIBIL scores are not something that people keep checking on and off, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Unfortunately.
So then that may not be something which could serve as an indicator.
That is only one of the indicators, sir. One of the indicators.
But sir, there are a lot of bodies like your Bank Bazaar, these that they are telling, you check your free CIBIL score, whether they are genuine or they are actually fake.
No. Don't do that. They are stealing a lot of data. Sir, can I tell you one thing, sir? Anybody tells you anything free, it is not free at all.
Absolutely.
Suspect there is a fraud. Nothing is free. Why should he offer, sir? Who is he to you?
Correct.
He is stealing your data. Nothing comes free. Yeah. If there are no questions, then we can wind up. I hope I gave an overview to you. Anybody having individual doubts, I can always be available to you.
Sir,
I'm also with IA Hyderabad.
Will it be possible to share the presentation so that we'll be able to?
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you, sir. I'll send it to you separately.
Sir, a lot of thanks to you. I'm just requesting my colleague in chapter, and he is our Vice President, Mr. Krishna Venugopal.
Yeah, yes, I could see him. Yeah.
Was the board of
thanks a lot for the session. I think, and at a short notice, you acknowledged, and I couldn't have said that this is one of the best sessions that we've had over the last few months. Certainly a topic which can go on for a few more hours, like you rightly said at the inception of this.
Easy.
And we'll be more than happy to host you in person over the next few months. Once you're down, please let us know. And something very basic that all of us, either in our corporate lives or in our personal lives that we entail now and then, is something that you pointed today. I'm sure with the experience that you've had, there'll be so many other corporate stories that you could share. Case studies, phenomenally, a lot of them. And that's something, like we said, over the next few months, we would want to host you for a few other sessions as well. Thanks a lot. I'm sure it was extremely beneficial to all those who attended the session today. On behalf of Bangalore chapter and on behalf of Amal and me, a huge thanks to you for accepting our invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll meet. Thank you, sir.